the Happy Tree. So the Happy Tree is a chain of de-addiction and mental health rehabilitation center, and they specializes in evidence-based psychiatric, psychological, and social intervention for these incidents. So, in order to brief us more about the brand Happy Tree, we have with us today Dr. Anuneet Sabrawal. Thank you, Dr. Anuneet, for joining with us today.
Thank
So,
you so much. Thank you.
so please help our audience understand more about yourself. How did you come up with this concept? How did the brand started, and where it is now currently?
Okay. I'm basically a psychiatrist. I did my training in 2012 and I finished it in 2015. Basically, to become a psychiatrist, you have to first go to medical college. So I did my MBBS from 2006 to 2011. So I was in training for about give or take 10 years, after which I started my own practice on an OPD basis. At that time, I was also attached to a rehab, and there was a lot of lacunae that I saw, that I felt that could be bettered in the affordable rehab segment. So the luxury rehab segment in India is very limited. There are few organizations that focus on luxury rehabilitation, and
Okay.
they're well managed and everything is good. The
Mhm.
moment you come to the affordable section of rehab centers, it's completely fragmented. There's a lot of uh, manipulation of, let's say, rates of patients, lack of staff. There's no real SOPs over there being followed. Some patients experience sometimes violence, sometimes being tied up, etc., and they've run into really bad repute. So that was a lacunae that I thought. At that time was when I decided to open my own center,
Mhm.
and I'm currently running my own center, and we have predominantly addiction patients, but also mental health patients. And what we do is we make it affordable to the patients, but also give high quality care expected of all these luxury rehab centers. So basically, it's a mix of both. We focus more on providing high quality professional intervention instead of, let's say, giving them luxuries that they may or may not be able to afford.
Okay.
Unlike the luxury rehabs that are out there currently.
Okay, so we can say that it's a cost effective for people to afford and opt for the services that you're offering. So
Yes.
when we see, I mean, there are a few competitors in the market. Speaking in the de-addiction and rehabilitation center. So cost is the only factor how you differentiate from them, or there are other unique USPs that you hold. If you could just elaborate on.
Okay, so the rehab space is actually a pretty well-established
Mhm.
industry in India. It's been around for a while. It's been around for decades now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But the problem is when we look at, let's say, like I mentioned before, rehabs that are expensive, they're well managed, and everything is being there followed.
Mhm.
However, when you look at competitors in the affordable segment, because there are no SOPs, because they're run by
Mhm.
completely untrained owners and untrained staff, they cut a
Mhm.
lot of corners. And the moment you
Right.
start cutting corners, patient care gets affected,
Mhm.
outcomes vis-a-vis rehabilitation gets affected, the perception of rehab centers overall also gets affected. And what people don't realize is that giving high quality professional service is not as expensive as it sounds. People are scared of hiring full-time doctors,
Mhm.
full-time psychologists, etc. But if you manage and optimize your staff well, you'll
Mhm.
be able to run a good profit and do things ethically. That is the biggest lacuna, in my opinion, in all rehab centers right now. So if you think about rehab centers, in your mind, a
Yeah,
chain will not strike, because there is no
yeah,
chain of affordable rehab centers.
yeah.
When you think of a rehab center, the first thing that will come to your mind is, oh yes, there's a rehab center near my vicinity, but I don't know how it is because it's locked from outside. So
Got
there's no concept of a chain of rehab centers currently in India. That is
got it.
basically what we're looking at doing.
Yes, absolutely. And also, the business seekers who would be viewing this session and who are currently with us on this session would also want to understand. I mean, why choosing Happy Tree franchisee is a good idea for them. We see there are bullet points mentioned over here. So, if you could also elaborate on these points.
Okay, so our brand, the Happy Tree, is a trade. We have our trademark for the brand,
Mhm.
for the logo, etc. It has been around for almost 8 years now. We've been doing a lot of tie-ups with corporates, with institutions. We have I personally have more than almost 200 media appearances. So it's there's an automatic trust that is associated with the brand. Since I am managing the brand myself, I trust myself to make sure that the patients get the highest quality of treatment and care. Other than that, we have an established, because we have tie-ups with corporates, etc. We have an established identity, vis-a-vis our corporate structure. Other than that, my in terms of our operations management, the hierarchy is quite set. The hierarchy is it's we have set rules for set individuals who are working for the brand, and so it's very clearly outlined, and there's no discrepancy as such.
Okay, perfect. And like you clearly said before as well, it's very important to manage the team and manage, the set of trainings and professionals that you have in the system,
Yes.
rather than opening the chain of franchisee, because it's difficult to, operate when you don't have like a proper management throughout the process, be it training, be it hiring, be it staffing, and having those professionals in the system. So I'm sure all the business seekers who have joined with us are getting a clear message in terms of why and why they should get associated with the Happy Tree franchisee. So also this is one of the most important slide that we have, that what is the ideal franchisee profile? I mean, do they need to have a specific skill set, or what is the timeline that they get associated, and how much time also do they need to devote in the system once they get associated as a franchisee partner? So, Anuneet, if you can
Yes.
explain.
So, from if you look at an ideal franchise profile, an
Mhm.
ideal franchisee would be either a psychosocial worker or a
Mhm.
psychologist or a psychiatrist.
Right.
But when we talk about franchising, we have to consider all possibilities, right? The owner may not be a mental health professional.
Mhm.
So, as far as education is concerned, there is no minimum requirement for any education as long as you want to do good for society. Get the word out about the brand,
Mhm.
help it, establish its name, and in the end, it's basically about whether you want to help people who are addicted to alcohol, drugs, etc. Your background has to, of course, anyone with who has a criminal background, who has a background of run-ins with the law, will obviously not be an ideal franchisee for us.
Mhm.
You must have a background with a strong sense of uh, you know uh, attachment to basically doing good for society. As far as time is concerned, if you're able to manage your operations well, if you're able to manage all your staff well, the
Mhm.
time required for management could be less than 1 hour a day. It could be
Okay.
1 hour a day, or probably less once it is optimized to the fullest possible. As far as skill is concerned, I think leadership skills and management skills are the two things that we really need from any franchisee. These are the most important two skills that would really help in running a facility successfully. Our
Okay.
model essentially is, in our model, the number of staff is minimal, but they're
Mhm.
optimized maximally. So that is the way I function in my own facility as well.
Right.
And so your ability to manage with the staff that you have, and also be able
Mhm.
to manage and strike a balance between staff, patients, etc., will determine how much time you end up spending. If you're looking at the management, if you're looking to run the place on auto,
Mhm.
uh, if you run it well, you may not need to spend more than an hour a day, probably less.
Got it. And what is the contractual period, agreement period that you get associated
That would
with
be
that?
5 years. 5 years.
The agreement period is 5 years. Okay. And since if suppose if someone is not from certain background and would still be interested to take up Happy Tea franchisee, so would you train them
We'll be
or?
we'll be happy to train them. We'll be happy to get them on board. We're open to all prospective franchisees. The only thing that we need is for the person to have a very strong commitment to do good for society. That is
Mhm.
something that is an absolute deal breaker. It has to be there. You have to have that zeal to do something good for society, to improve society, because if you don't have that, you won't be successful as a de-addiction center.
Right. So I hope all our business seekers have gotten the message in terms of what they need to have at their own end. So now I think we'll be discussing about financials, which is the most important aspect of the franchisee model. So over here we see there are a couple of breakups in terms of how much is going to be the total investment, what is the capex, what is the franchisee fee. So Anuneet, if you can elaborate on the financial numbers and figures that we see over here, and in total, how much do the cost do they need to bear to take up the
Well,
franchise?
I think it's pretty clear the franchise fee, because we're starting off, our franchising journey. The franchise fee has been fixed at the lowest possible rate, and it's 3 lakhs at the moment. Other than that, I think the major investment will come from furniture, fittings, and also IT support. So when we talk about IT support, we've actually automated our software, where that's been customized for the franchise business. So it's basically completely digital. Other than the consent forms, everything is on the computer. Everything is cloud based. So the center can run their IPD as well as OPD through the software, and also function as a franchisee. The software will be allocated to them as a franchisee. So that is basically the essential cost that they have to bear for it. Their Google business page, etc., will be managed by us. Their listing will be on the website, so that will be also, the listing will be, of course, managed by us. As far as promoting their the Google business page, etc., is concerned, we offer partial support, not complete, but then those are things that come later. As far as the indoor gaming cost is concerned, that is because we're looking at getting a foosball table or a TT table or or some other outdoor game installed for patients who are admitted, so that they can pass their time. I've seen that a lot of these budget affordable rehabs don't have it, and it's a one-time investment. You make it once, it stays with you for 30 years.
Yeah.
So that is again an extra cost that they have to kind of bear. CCTV surveillance is very, very, very important, because at all times your facility, even though it's secured, you may have patients who are trying to flee the facility. So that is a cost that they must absolutely bear. What you'll notice is that the medical equipment cost is very low, and the reason for that is rehabs usually admit, for the most part, medically healthy patients. They are young adults. In most cases, they are young males. And so for them, medical supervision and medical management is not a really massive concern. That works well for us, because the lesser you have to treat persons medically, the lesser the risk you run as a facility of something happening to the patient, and also the lesser your expenses in terms of medical equipment, etc.
Okay. So, furniture and fixtures, like fitting cost is higher compared to what they would be investing in the other areas. So, would that be okay if they would want to do the fittings from their end, or is it necessary for that you will be providing?
We will not be providing the furniture and fittings. So we basically work on a general theme of the hospital. So the hospital essentially has to have themes of white, gray, and black, mostly
Okay.
white and gray. So if they have furniture that's in themes of white and gray, that they can use the existing furniture as well. If they have furniture that is painted or polished in a different color, they can simply have it painted in shades of white and gray, and then that they're good to go. So that cost may actually be zero if they have the appropriate furniture themselves.
Okay, okay. And this franchisee fee of 3 lakh rupees, is that a non-refundable amount or a refundable amount?
Correct. So that's a one-time non-refundable amount when they sign up with us.
Okay, so the total capex is around 28 lakhs 35,000 that they'll have to bear throughout this process. So definitely, in terms of investment, we have gotten an understanding. Now the business seekers would want to understand what is the ROI, like how soon can they achieve. Anybody who's investing in this business has this question, that how soon would they be able to achieve this number. So if you
So
can
this is a
explain.
high investment, high return business. You have to
Mhm.
invest, of course, in real estate, which is the most expensive thing, but
Yeah.
the returns are significant, as your next slide might be showing.
Yes. Yes, so we are on the return on investment slide. Over here, we see projection for another 5 years, from year one to year five. So, would you like to elaborate, underneath, on this slide?
So, yes, so these the projections are actually made on the basis of occupancy of beds per year. So every year we expect an occupancy of beds to increase. So we start from, let's say, 40%, then it's 60, 80,
Mhm.
going a 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. It's going up to a maximum of considering an average of 80% occupancy. However, you have to bear in mind that almost all rehab centers who are
Mhm.
in the affordable sector run
Mhm.
full. They actually run on waiting in India. And the reason for that is the demand is huge, but
Mhm.
the supply is very less. There are no branded affordable rehab centers. So even an 80% occupancy would be less. It could be actually more. They could actually run on waiting. They could actually have a waiting list of patients
Mhm.
if they run their operations well.
Got it. So over here, as we understood that it's a high investment and high return model. So definitely, there is a lot of business that is there and that is in line. So it's just that whoever is interested, please write your messages into the comment section. And once you're viewing this session, please get in touch with us so that we can discuss in detail about the opportunity and the model the Happy Tree holds. So we move to the next slide, wherein we would also want to understand, what is the additional support, like once they open up the center and once the outlet is open. So how do you support them in terms of sales, like for example the patients and the clients, as well as the marketing promotion in those particular areas? So
Okay.
mhm,
So the training, initial training is of course essential because
mhm,
you have to have a setup with mental health professionals, and so to handle them, to hire them, and also to manage their activities,
mhm,
it's mandatory. There have to be some SOPs in place. So as far as training, the initial training is concerned, it is essential, and we will give that to all the franchisees. As far as marketing support is concerned, interestingly, Google does not allow ads to run on rehab centers in India. However,
mhm,
Google My Business pages can be made for rehab centers, and SEO can be done, which is something that we will do. As far as the listing is concerned, we will be listing the facility on our website. For
mhm,
social media as well, we have a single social media page for all of our centers. So all of the postings on social media will also be done through us. As far as the intellectual properties are concerned, we will tell you what all articles you have to get manufactured, etc.,
mhm,
with the logo and the brand name on it. Financial planning is a very important component of running any business. So
mhm,
when to hire who and how to
mhm.
hire who is what will help you solve,
Okay,
right?
so you basically guide them in terms of hiring, or you hire on the behalf of franchisee?
No, we'll guide them on the for hiring. It's not that
Okay.
we will hire. We don't have a central hiring
Mhm.
responsibility here. We guide the franchisee on how to hire, uh, so that it becomes very easy for them. Operations become very easy for them.
Okay, and how do you keep a track record of all the patient? Is there any software that is been provided
Our
to you?
software, see, so I've actually worked on this software for the last 5 years.
Mhm.
I've customized it myself in terms of, I've been
Okay.
in touch with a software company. I personally customized the software
Mhm.
to make it suitable for franchising. So it's something that I have done over the last, the customization has been happening over the last 6 to 8 months.
Okay,
So it's
okay.
very easy. Even the royalties, etc. We work on a prepaid model. So
Mhm.
everything, all the recharging, everything can be done through the software itself. They just have to click on a button and the software starts running. And all the billing is completely digital, automatic. So there's no maintenance of registers or anything else.
Wow,
Everything is on
super.
the software.
Perfect. So I think our business seekers have gotten a message about how you're going to support them. So Mohit Rao has joined with us. Thank you, Mohit, for joining with us. If you have any questions, please write your message into the comment section. So a few questions from a business seeker's perspective that I would like to address over here. So do you help them in site selection? Suppose if someone is interested, they don't have a location, and what kind of property would be ideal to start the franchise? To
Okay,
start the
so, so we expect the franchisees to come up to us and ask us,
Mhm.
what property they have, and then we can obviously help them and guide them as to whether this will be appropriate or not appropriate.
Correct.
For the interesting thing about rehabs is people seek them out, right? They
Yeah.
don't have to be visible on the main road. If you look
Mhm.
at it, almost no rehab is on the main road, on any main road, and the reason for that is of course high cost of leasing, etc. For a
Okay.
rehab, a non-prime location can also be ideal, because people search it on Google and then they actually navigate to the rehab. They don't actually just, they're not walking on the street and saying, oh, this is a rehab, okay, I'll come here. So the biggest advantage of having a rehab franchisee is that they don't need a prime location. They can
Okay.
work on a non-prime location as long as there's adequate space for all the services to be provided.
Okay, okay, got it. And would you help them in selecting that particular location and or maybe identifying if this is the right location for them to start?
Yes. That's something that we can certainly do.
Okay, okay, perfect. We move to the next slide. I think this is the final slide. So, how was the brand performing during pandemic? Pandemic was the most difficult time for most of the sectors, and last 3 years has been difficult. So, how was the response for in the Happy Tree outlet?
I think I think it depends on sectors because the Happy Tree did. I mean, we've actually multiplied our business during the
Mhm,
pandemic, even though it was through video conferencing or masking and social distancing, etc.
mhm,
The business has really picked up during the COVID times, especially because of all the stress that's out there.
yeah.
You have no, I mean, so as far as sourcing drugs and alcohol was concerned, it
Mhm,
did not stop even during the pandemic. So we kept getting queries and we kept getting patients who wanted to get admitted. Of course, with social distancing and masking and regular testing and all of that was done, patients being
mhm,
isolated, etc. Right? But
mhm,
in terms of OPD, if I would say, it has actually more than tripled in the last 2 years. And the reason for that is very simple. Um, People are more under stress. People have lost a lot of their relatives. We've been
mhm,
able to manage because the staff has been optimized to a point where we're able to handle um, upwards of 40, 50, 60 appointments in a day. So it's very easily doable. We're actually offering a franchise for both IPD and OPD. So if
okay.
you're looking to run a hole in one kind of center
Mhm.
that can house IPD, dispensary, and OPD, then this is one of the best best models that you can kind of work on.
Perfect, perfect. So we have this question from Harish that are there any different ROI for taluka level? So are you
Absolutely,
open?
absolutely. Now, if you're asking me whether the ROI is more in the tier two and tier three
Mm-hmm.
cities,
Mm-hmm.
I would say it is the maximum in tier two and tier three cities. The
Yeah.
reason is the property cost and the labor cost is the least. The
Mm-hmm.
number of patients is the maximum. Most of my
Yeah.
patients actually come from tier two and tier three cities because
Mm-hmm.
they don't have a nice center in their vicinity. In a city like Delhi, where there are
Mm-hmm.
already 400 to 500 unlicensed rehabs running,
Mm-hmm.
still all of them are running full, but they're, of course, because with the property prices and all of that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the take home is relatively lesser. If you're running a branded facility in a
Mm-hmm.
tier 2 or a tier 3 city, the scope for earning is endless.
Right. Okay. So what is the ideal, like you're open for pan-India expansion or you're
Yes.
targeting any specific location? Like when you mentioned that tier two and tier three cities are the potential locations,
No,
speaking of
tier one as
pan-India,
well. Tier one as well. I mean,
tier one. Mhm.
we're okay for with anyone who wants to take up a franchise pan India. Tier one as well.
Yeah.
I'm saying the maximum money will be made in tier two and tier three cities.
Tier three cities. So does the investment differ for those location or the investment remains the same?
Investment should remain the same, but the running expenses will all be almost half.
Okay, got it, got it. So I think we have gotten an overview about the entire model and the financial structure as well. So we would want all the viewers and business seekers who would be going through this session. So
There
please,
are a couple of things that I wanted to mention,
yes,
if
please,
time allows.
yes.
So the franchise that we're offering is separate for all male facility and an all
Mhm.
female facility.
Okay.
So you can take up a franchise either for an all male where only male patients are admitted or an
Mhm.
all female where only female patients are admitted. Currently, there are almost no facilities that house all female, patients. So
Okay.
most facilities are co-ed or all male. So that is another angle that we're kind of we're franchising that part as well. We are very open to franchising from let's say a Gurgaon or a Delhi or a Noida
Mhm.
and take it from there. But we're open to queries from anywhere in the country.
Got it. And for the investment that we spoke about, so ideally, how many beds or how many patients would fit in that within that
Ideally
investment?
50 plus, ideally 50 plus, but anything above
Okay.
30 will do. But ideally 50 plus.
Okay, 50 plus is the number. Okay,
Ideally,
got
I mean, it could be 30 as well. If it's in a big city, I mean, you could do a
it.
30 bed as well, 30, 40 beds as well. But if you're looking to really juice the market maximally, I'd say go for 50 or 100 beds.
Okay, perfect. Got it. So I think we have an overview about the model and, like you mentioned, the key pointers around it. So we would want the business seekers, whoever would be viewing this session, please share your messages and connect with us. We move to the next slide, wherein we are sharing our contact details. So you can give us a call on this number. It's 9844443200. You can also write us a mail at business@franchisebazar.com. And please visit our website, franchisebazar.com. Over there, you would be able to find this opportunity as well as the other opportunities. So you can go and register yourself and stay connected with us for throughout the session. We'll be coming up with new opportunities, and also like, follow, and share our social media channels and handles. Thank you, Dr. Anuneet, for being part of this session.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and it was a great session, and we got to know, and our business seekers obviously got to know more about, what this opportunity holds. I think it's a very unique opportunity and very emerging. Speaking of current scenario, so any message would you like to give it to business seeker before we wrap up the session?
Yes. So if you're looking for a franchise and if you're looking to make money, why not make money and do good for society? Let's do something good. Let's help people. Let's help India become a better drug-free, country. And there's a lot of ways to run a business, but the satisfaction that you will get, from doing something for society, it cannot be matched by anything else. So that is, I think, a parting message from my side. I would love for franchisees who are interested in doing some good for society in general to be associated with us.
Right. So thank you once again, Dr. Aruneet. And before we wrap up the session, Sulekha Rola has joined with us. Sulekha, hi, and please share your message into the comment section, or you can give us a call if you're viewing this session. We'll connect with you, and our team will get in touch. I think she has shared the contact details. So Sulekha will connect with you, and we'll brief you on this entire module. Thank you, Dr. Anuneet, once again, and
Most welcome. Thank you.
I hope this session was fruitful to all our business seekers.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you for the next session.
Sure. Thank you. Bye bye.